There's a couple things here. So first of all, I believe that there is something really, really big going on here that most people are completely blinded to. And the reason why they're blinded to it is because cryptocurrency is here. And so what am I talking about? About every 50 years, last 300 years, about every 50 years, there's a technological revolution. Not a new technology, but a technological revolution. The difference is a technology is like an iPhone. You take a computer and a phone, you put them together. Cool. That's nice. Changed my life. I like it. But a technological revolution changes the course of humanity and drives financial markets. There's been five: industrial revolution, steam engines and railways, electricity and steel, oil, automobiles, and microprocessors. Mm-hmm. I believe Bitcoin is a technological revolution, and the revolution is decentralization.
Right.
Now, decentralization is achieved because everybody in the world, anybody in a third world country with an old laptop, could download the entire Bitcoin database and run a node. So it's decentralized. That problem has been solved. All the other 20,000 cryptocurrencies are not solving that problem. So what are they? They're making a video game experience better. They're managing lettuce on a supply chain better, right? But they're not decentralized, which is what the revolution is. So when it comes to, and this is where people get hung up, if it comes to just investing and all I'm trying to do is increase my US dollar holdings, people would say, Mark, what do you mean Cardano's a scam? Look how much money I've made. It's not about how much money. We're witnessing a revolution that Bitcoin is solving a problem that has plagued humanity from day one, which is how do I secure my property in a way that can't be manipulated, seized, or stolen? I can have custody of it, and if I want to send it to you, nobody could stop it, block it, or prevent it. And decentralization is what solved that problem. And so I think for most people who are just thinking about, oh, I'll buy this crypto token because I can make more US dollars, that person and the average Bitcoin maximalist or Bitcoin community member, they're just not seeing the world in the same way.
All right.
So both, as you said, Jay Clayton, the previous head of the SEC, and Gary Gensler have both said that Bitcoin is a commodity. Bitcoin only is a commodity. Gary Gensler believes that almost everything else is a security. And if you look at just what a commodity is something that typically would come from the ground. Anybody in the world can get it, and it's fungible no matter where it is. There's no common issuer. So think about oil. Anyone can go buy a piece of land in California or in Morocco or wherever, and they can drill for oil. And if that oil comes out of the ground, it's fungible. I could grow wheat or corn in the Midwest or in the Ukraine, and corn is corn. Anybody can buy land and grow corn, or anybody can get gold. The same with Bitcoin. Anybody can go get a computer, hook up to the network, and they could mine Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is fungible. There's no common issuer, right? All the other cryptocurrencies, including Cardano and Ripple and Ethereum, had a common issuer. So they created that token and issued it. That's the difference of a security. Now, they've already been clear about it being a commodity, and it's now regulated under the CFTC. Cryptocurrency is yet to be seen what it's going to be ruled under, but most likely it's a security. I just saw today on Wellchart on Twitter, they said, just in, Vitalik Buterin says XRP is, quote, completely centralized. Ripple CTO reacts saying Vitalik doesn't understand. And so now they're all saying, well, Ethereum is centralized and Ripple is centralized. And so we'll see how that plays out. But what I think is going to happen is that, as I said, I believe that Bitcoin is the decentralized revolution. It's a technological revolution. Cryptocurrency is sort of like a distraction or sort of like a DDoS attack, a denial of service attack. So all the ads, I get them in my email every day. I'm sure you see them as well. The next Bitcoin, the next coin to go up 10,000%. And so, prices move on supply and demand. If there's more people that want to buy Bitcoin, more demand for Bitcoin, but the supply is capped at 21 million, the price would go up. But every time another person says the next Bitcoin, you can make more money with this coin, the unsuspecting average person will then jump to this next coin. So it's this denial of service, and it pulls this demand into these 5,000, 10,000, now 20,000 cryptocurrencies. And if most of those go away, let's say we go from 20,000 down to 20, now the majority of that money can move right back into Bitcoin. On that point that you just said there, because you said a lot of these other tokens, Web3s, et cetera, have utility. And so we just saw this case go through the SEC with a library token, LBRY token, which is it's like an open source blockchain that's like a YouTube competitor. And they have and my videos go on there, by the way, and they release their own token, and it has utility. So if you use the network, you get the token, you get rewards, et cetera. And the SEC, this was just a couple months ago, SEC sued them. They won. This was in March. They got sued, and they said, "But wait a minute. we have utility. And the federal judge, Paul Barbadero, District Court of New Hampshire, said, quote, no reasonable trier of fact could reject the SEC's contention that Library offered LBC as a security, and Library does not have a triable defense. So they said, no, it doesn't matter if it has utility. This is security. So I don't know if that utility piece is going to hold water. That's one way to look at it, sure. But I think the other way to look at it would be that everybody knows the dollar, the US dollar, is not a good store of value. There's no one pretends that it is. Everybody knows it's not, which is why bonds are a 100 trillion market. That's why equities have $118 trillion of value. That's why real estate has $326 trillion of value. People put their money into real estate. They put it into stocks to save their value. They don't hold it in dollars. And so if you want to take that case, you would go, well, why would they allow people to store their value in Bitcoin? Well, why do they allow them to store their value in gold, or store their value in businesses, or store their value in real estate, or store their value in stocks? And I made a video and I talked about this. I think Ray Dalio has it wrong. And of course, he's forgotten more than I'll ever know. I respect Ray Dalio. However, he made a case that the reason why the government seized gold in 1933 in Act 6102 is because they didn't want a competing store of value. And I believe that narrative is wrong. And the reason what happened is in 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created, they started printing too many of these paper gold certificates, these claims. And by 1933, the government had created all these paper claims, but they didn't actually have the gold. And the government owed gold, but they couldn't print gold. But they needed the gold. So what'd they do? Well, they stole the gold that was in the banks. So I don't think it was about a competing form of store of value. I think they actually just needed the gold. And today the government doesn't owe gold to anybody. They don't owe Bitcoin to anybody. And so they just print, they're on a fiat money system. So you're thinking the government is a big term. And so there's some people who will be, and there's some people that won't be, right? And so I think Jerome Powell at the Fed, I think he's favorable to Bitcoin. We know there's at least 24 high-ranking members in the government, Senate and House that are pro-Bitcoin, and so we know there's a lot of people that are pro-Bitcoin in the government. Now, of course, we have others who say that it helps elicit, illegal transactions, like Elizabeth Warren, for example. And so then we have those people, but I think mostly they're attacking it, like I said, because they believe it helps, people fund terrorism and evade taxes and things like that. All right. Maybe cryptocurrency overall, maybe. But and we've seen like Christine Lagarde over at the ECB. She says that we need to seal off the exits, right? We don't want financial innovation because it threatens our financial stability. And so, again, the government's big. There's some people who probably do see it more of a threat, like Elizabeth Warren or Christine Lagarde. But then, like I said, 24 high-ranking people in the U.S. government who are pro-Bitcoin. I think Jerome Powell is favorable to Bitcoin. So I think it's split. And I think the government has bigger problems on their hands right now. Jerome Powell and the Fed are fighting off the ECB. They're fighting off. So let's play that out just a little bit more. That's always the big argument, which is, why would the government or why would the central banks ever allow something like Bitcoin to succeed? They want to keep control over the money, don't they? Which, of course, yes. But does the Fed and Jerome Powell want to give up control over the dollar to the ECB? Of course not. Right? Do they want to give up control? And it looks like now the Fed doesn't even want to give up control to the government on the money side. And so there's lots of factions and wars going on. I think they have a lot bigger things to worry about than trying to shut Bitcoin down at this point. I don't see it being on the docket.